Hey, what's up, YouTube? Geomagnetic field. Seen a lot of the stuff in the news about it. Heard some people talk about it. Kind of freaked me out. There's a lot of misinformation going on. So let's talk about it for a few minutes and kind of get you the nitty gritty on what you need to know about it. Quick schematic here of the structure of the planet. And the key here, solid and liquid cores. Okay, so the liquid core, think of this as the most hellfire maple syrup you've ever had. I mean, it is full of nickel, full of iron. It's super hot. The pressure is insane. You've got density contrasts that are causing some kind of weird and complicated flow in this area. And these metals, these ferric metals that are in solution and they're flowing around, they're kind of exploiting Faraday's law. They're creating this magnetic field, this geomagnetic field. You can say that to impress your friends. And what that does is, in effect, it makes kind of like a bar magnet through the Earth, and you get this North Pole and the South Pole. And if you've ever used a compass, which sadly most of folks my age and younger probably haven't, you'll find that you can exploit this magnetic field to navigate. Okay, so that was really helpful when humans began navigating. Okay, they started to figure that out. We knew that we could use something concrete, and we could travel to the same point on the planet, no matter if we're coming from the United States, Africa, Australia, whatever. We could have something concrete that always went to this in a lot. We're in the northern hemisphere, so I'll kind of talk about the North Pole, but obviously the same goes with the South Pole. So from that, we developed what everybody knows as our simple latitude, longitude system of the Earth. Okay, we defined this. This has nothing to do necessarily with the natural status of things. We basically made it up, and we had some good reasons for doing it. That's great, but at the end of the day, the position of this North Pole is something. It's a human construct. Okay, it's not some natural phenomenon. And so we have these lines of latitude and longitude, and they're great. And so in a perfect world, if I navigate north, I want to arrive at this point. Okay. But the reality is that this North Pole, this geographic North Pole, is different than the magnetic North Pole. And it's for a number of reasons, but one of which is that the magnetic North Pole changes. And that's what you've been hearing in the news. So, quick example of why this is important. Why do we care? And here are some examples from some areas in Canada where if we navigate to magnetic North Pole because we've used our magnetic compass and we don't do anything with accounting for the difference, we're going to end up pretty far away from the North Pole, right, from that true North Pole. And so on this diagram, it's called variation, but think of this as declination. So if you've ever used a compass where you can account for the declination, if you're coming out of Ottawa, you would account for 14 degrees west, and then your compass would be then pointing to true north. And that's, of course, the objective, but you needed to have this number, 14 degrees west. Just like out of Vancouver, you need this number. I think in North Carolina, we're something like 7 degrees west. And so we need that number here for accurate navigation. And today, we've got really high dollar GPS gear, but at the end of the day, especially for backup systems, for highly sensitive applications, a magnetic compass is still absolutely a necessary thing in a lot of applications. So again, okay, true north doesn't change. We've defined it. We make it up. We say where it is north magnetic pole. This does change because it is solely a function of that rotating outer core. And we can't control it. It's 3,000 kilometers below the surface of the Earth. So here's a quick little schematic. We know that this magnetic North Pole changes. Okay, that's what this is showing through time. This video was published in 2014, so the numbers here past 2014 are just estimates. Okay, coming out to 2019. So this is what we know from kind of the couple generation of humans time scales. Okay, we know it's been kind of marching to the north, closer, in fact, to true north. Okay, so how do we know this? What do we know when we think about geologic time? Right, this is great. We can get this probably from old maps, from updates that government agencies have done, just like NOAA is doing or did last week. So we can get this from some human-generated data. Okay, so we can feel pretty good about these positions. But what do we know geologically? And so geologically, here's Google Earth. Here is the United States of America coming out into the Atlantic Ocean, okay, Western Africa, Western Europe. And what you see here, if you've ever seen this on a map, this is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. This is the longest mountain chain on Earth. So yeah, Appalachians, we got nothing. Mid-Atlantic Ridge is an area where the North American tectonic plate is going to the west. The African and Eurasian plates are going to the east, and we're basically creating new seafloor all through this margin, okay? And this thing goes all the way to the south. I mean, we can go to the South Atlantic, coming down into Antarctica, and I mean, it's a long one, okay? So we have this feature. We know it's creating new rock through time. And when rock, of course, if you've ever been to Hawaii, or if you've kept up with the eruption in 2018 in Hawaii, you saw all that basaltic lava coming out. It's molten, right? It's a liquid. It's very viscous, but it acts as a liquid. And what happens in that is you've got minerals. You've got, iron, nickel. You've got kind of some of these magnetic minerals, and these little strands, these little tiny little molecules or parts of nickel, they're going to be aligned with the current magnetic field at the time. And so if we look here and we find some magnetic data, all right, come on. Oh boy, bear with me here. Okay, here we go. So we turn on some magnetic data that we've, using a ship, using a model, we've developed this magnetic field of the Earth. Here's what we can see, okay? Think about pink is one direction of the magnetic field, and green or blue is the opposite direction. So this is getting into geomagnetic reversals, right? Which you may have also heard about in the news, where that magnetic pole of the planet flips, okay? And so if the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is coming in somewhere through here, as we march to the left or to the right of that location, you can see that it's a lot of greens and blues, and then we get a kind of a strip, if you will, of pink and purple, and then some green and blue, and then some pink and purple. And so we're alternating as we get away from this feature. And so what that lets us do then is through some various dating techniques, we can come up with the age of these rocks. We know the magnetic field at the time of their placement. And so we can come up with kind of an age and a polarity chart. Okay, so as we go back through time, this being present and down here being 150 million years ago, we can see anywhere that it's black, it is the magnetic field we have today. Anywhere it's white, it's the opposite. And so through time, flip, 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 right? These things are flipping left and right, okay? And in some cases, they're very fast, right? Like here in the Neogene, but then back in the Cretaceous, we had a period of 20 million years that was the same magnetic field in the sense that it was, the same orientation, the same north-south orientation that we have today. So don't freak out, okay? This thing's not going to flip tomorrow. It's not going to flip in the span of the next 5 years, where it's a longer process, and it's something that happens all the time. As far back as we can see, it's been happening. The fact that it's been speeding up and caused the need for a new update to the declination tables, not a big deal. Totally expected. Totally expected. So. And it is certainly, if anybody says anything about global warming, climate change, etc., ask for the evidence. We got nothing. This thing's got, us burning carbon's got absolutely, the middle of the earth doesn't care that we're burning carbon. No way. It's got nothing to say about that. So if anybody brings it up, you better tell them, show you the money. Anyways, there we go.